So keep your eyes, ears, and open for primary market research. Be a great listener. Be 100% present. That's very hard. If you're taking notes and you're trying to be in the moment, if you can get it recorded, that's even better, but sometimes that scares people. But don't multitask, okay? Listen, not to formulate a response, and then in interviews, pay close attention to the nonverbals, okay? Is it a good idea to start with a question, 1 to 10? Oh dear God, please answer that question. Come on. Is it a good idea? Why? It anchors them. Yeah. Yes. Okay? No. You've got to use open-ended questions. Okay? Closed-end questions. So this is multiple, we'll cut the conversation, okay? And then face-to-face. Okay? You do not want to just get a bank of names and cold call. Okay? Narrow it down so that you can get comfortable with this. How many of you are comfortable interviewing people? Okay, good. Okay. What do you think you can do if the subject won't talk? Check your technique. Okay? It may be you're doing yes, no. Okay? Maybe some people are shy, give them a little bit of time, and silence is okay. If it's everybody, then we got a real problem. Okay? And you got to look within yourself. And then if they're other talkative, maybe they don't have a pain point. Okay? What is the sense of starting a company if it doesn't address a pain point? There's no urgency for anybody to buy anything you have. Okay? So you want to find a pain point or something they've never been able to do before. Okay? So when we were at Netezza, we did a database. And it was, we solved people who couldn't query, couldn't find an answer, or things took so long. And we took it on as a challenge, and then we would demonstrate to them that we could actually do it. Okay, and that was very compelling. Okay, team is better than solo. Friends and families love you. One person takes notes. Ethnographic studies, just watching people. So one of the things Wobo heard was my children don't watch anything but public television or whatever, or they don't watch television at all. Yet the person knows who these characters are on these cartoon channels. So, focus groups, not a fan. Why wouldn't we be not a fan of focus groups? Any of you watch Silicon Valley? Okay, it's really true and sad, but true. But in Silicon Valley, there was one where the person had put out a product, and he only asked his friends. And then when they went to a focus group, he's like, I don't understand it. They don't understand this. They can't see the benefits of it. And they're screaming at the wall in between the focus group. And it's because they only asked their friends. And somebody in the focus group says it isn't good, and people are confused, or they don't want to say anything. It's really, you get a group think. So, what about you? Be open-minded. Embrace what they're teaching you. And then you might find yourself thinking he or she is wrong. I'm telling you this now because it will happen, okay? And when that happens, I need you to stop and say, I'm bringing bias into the discussion. Okay, for those of you who don't like to talk or want a different alternative, I have to put this down for a minute. Card sorting. You take cards. You take cards like this, and you put, and I'm gonna use you guys, trafficking. Parents of women who were kidnapped. Anything. You just put a couple words on here, and you put the 12 cards, 9 cards in front of someone and say, what's important to you? What speaks to you here? Okay? And see if they pick it up. And then tell me about it. Okay? So if you're nervous or getting things started, card sorting is a really good way. It's also a good way to start figuring out what to put on your website that would resonate with your different people, whether it's an economic buyer, it's an end user, or whatever. So if you're gonna put, you're the investors, right? Sustainability. You can put a couple names of companies that do it well. a couple that are in the news that don't do it so well. Talk about environment, talk about investing, and just put those words on there and say, what does that mean to you? And you can get a really good conversation started. Okay, similar, you guys get it, technical kind of thing. That is the cheapest way to get a conversation started. And this one you can practice with your friends, because it really does work. Let's see. Oops. Okay. Qualitative versus quantitative. Which do you do first? Qualitative or quantitative? Really? Come on, guys, think.
I would think qualitative because it gives you a chance to kind of have a more humanized conversation and kind of polish or flesh out exactly what you're trying to arrive at, and then take that one step further into a qualitative assessment or qualitative measure.
Okay.
Versus quantitative measure.
I do one first so that I can identify who I want to spend my time doing the qualitative.
Okay. So here's the deal. If you don't know at the beginning, you're not even sure what your product is or who your market is or who's the right person, this helps you narrow it down. Okay, so you really should do qualitative before the quantitative. Okay, but look at the sample size. You can do less than 50 here, but you need a big sample size for quant. So this will help you narrow down young professionals that are in a particular industry, etc. Go ahead.
When you say quantitative here, you're talking still about primary market research
Yes.
from a quantitative standpoint, right? Which
Right.
is different from sort of understanding the quant behind the larger problem.
Yes.
Which is what you're referring to,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, this is still a primary market because you're early.
Right.
Okay. What if you keep hearing the same thing over and over from people? That good thing or bad thing? Okay? Congratulations, you found your persona. Okay? You should have found who your target audience is. Okay? And you've heard enough about the product and what their pain point is that you can go off and say, okay, this is how I need to go after my product. Okay? So, if you have more than 10 or 15, you can stop now. If you only have 2 or 3, don't stop. It can be a sampling error. Okay? Just a heads up. If every conversation is a whole new conversation, what happens? The targeting isn't tight enough. Okay? And then say, how can you sub-segment your market? And then you'll probably end up having several tighter markets, and then you'll have to figure out recruitment in that. So if you go out and you recruit someone, make sure you keep a spreadsheet of what you've done. If you're going out for multiple segments because you don't know what to do, and you've done the 20 to 25, and now you need the 25 to 28, keep track and stop going after. Once you've hit one bucket, just move on and focus on the other bucket. Okay? How do you gauge purchase intent? This is after the primary market. Why not? Why shouldn't you say, would you buy it? Why would you not make a statement like that?
Could be a reason the people who we are talking to they would not be early adopters, or they want other people to first rectify and give credibility to the product.
It's so early that if you anchor on a price and you don't really know how much it's going to cost for you to do, you may be too high or you may be too low. Okay? But you've now anchored them on what it's going to be. What you can say is, so say they're buying a golf club, or something. What have you spent on in golf in the last year? Okay, or if you're selling vacations or something like that, what have you spent last year? So then you have an idea of it, and they'll get an indication of how much they're willing to pay. So that elite athlete, the hydration, the elite athlete has a very high willingness to pay. It's a smaller segment, but they want to know their hydration because they don't want to make sure they left everything in that race. Those triathletes are maniacs about that. Okay? They don't want to have anything left in their tank but they don't want to die too quickly either, okay? So know what you're doing there. And you shouldn't do pricing research in person, okay? Why not?
They might be kind of shy to admit that they wouldn't buy something.
Yeah, it's not gonna be real. They're gonna like you, they're gonna tell you what you think you wanna hear. You know, don't do it in person. Do your pricing research in an alternate. Okay.